The Outcast's Despair. The medical facility on Nexus Station hummed with quiet efficiency, but for Zara Kethix, the sound felt like a funeral dirge. She sat on the examination table, her massive frame making the furniture seem like children's toys. At 8 feet tall, with bronze skin marked by intricate silver patterns, she was a sight that commanded both awe and fear. Her long crimson hair fell like a curtain around her shoulders, partially hiding the tears that threatened to spill from her golden eyes. "The results are conclusive," Dr. Meridian said, his voice clinical and cold. "Your bone density and internal structure make successful reproduction impossible. The Valoran High Council has been notified." Zara's powerful hands clenched into fists. Among her people, the Valorants, warrior women were revered not just for their combat prowess, but for their ability to bear strong offspring. She had excelled in every trial, conquered every battlefield, earned every honor, yet none of it mattered now. An unexpected encounter. Hours later, Zara found herself in the station's lower levels, sitting alone in a dimly lit cantina. The other patrons gave her a wide berth, intimidated by her size and the ceremonial armor that marked her as Valoran elite. She stared into her untouched drink, lost in thoughts of a future that had just been torn away. "Mind if I sit?" The voice belonged to a human man, average height, with kind brown eyes and prematurely gray hair at his temples. He wore the practical clothing of a cargo hauler, complete with grease stains and the confident posture of someone who'd spent years in space. "I am not fit company," Zara replied without looking up, her accent giving her standard a melodic quality. "Lucky for you, I specialize in not fit company." The man sat down anyway, signaling the bartender. "Marcus Chen, captain of the cargo hauler Starbound Hope, and you look like someone who just got some very bad news." The weight of rejection. Despite herself, Zara found his casual manner disarming. "Why do you care, human?" "Because 3 years ago, I was sitting in a cantina just like this one, staring at the divorce papers my ex-wife sent me. Said I was married to my ship more than to her." Marcus accepted his drink from the bartender. Sometimes it helps to talk to a stranger. Zara studied his face, searching for the usual fear or calculation she saw in others' eyes. Instead, she found only genuine concern. "I have been declared defective by my people, cast out for failing in my biological duty." "That's rough." Marcus took a sip of his drink. "What was this biological duty?" "Reproduction." The word came out bitter. "Among Valorans, a warrior woman who cannot bear children is considered worthless. My size, my strength, everything that made me a great fighter makes me unsuitable for carrying offspring." An offer of hope. Marcus was quiet for a moment, then shook his head. "That's the dumbest thing I've heard all week, and I once listened to a Krillian try to explain why pink is a number." Despite her pain, Zara almost smiled. "You mock my people's ways?" "I'm mocking any system that judges someone's worth by one biological function." Marcus leaned forward. "Look, I don't know you, but I can see you're not broken. You're just different, and different isn't the same as worthless." The simple kindness in his words hit Zara harder than any physical blow. For the first time in months, she felt something other than despair. "I need a security specialist for some dangerous cargo runs. The pay's decent, the work is honest, and nobody asks questions about your reproductive status. Interested?" Zara met his eyes, seeing an opportunity she hadn't dared hope for. "You would trust someone you just met?" "Trust is earned, but everyone deserves a chance to earn it." Marcus stood up. "Ship departs tomorrow at 800 hours, docking bay 12. If you're there, you've got a job. If not, no hard feelings." As he walked away, Zara felt something she thought she'd lost forever: hope.
A new beginning. The docking bay buzzed with early morning activity as cargo loaders and maintenance crews prepared ships for departure. Zara stood outside docking bay 12, her few possessions in a simple travel pack. She had arrived 30 minutes early, unsure if the human captain's offer had been genuine or merely the kindness of someone trying to cheer up a stranger. The Starbound Hope was a mid-sized cargo vessel, clearly well-maintained despite its age. Scorch marks on the hull told stories of close encounters, while patches of newer metal spoke of careful repairs. It was a working ship, not a showpiece, and something about its honest functionality appealed to Zara. "Wasn't sure you'd show," Marcus's voice came from behind her. Zara turned to see him approaching with 2 steaming cups of station coffee. "I gave my word." "That you did." He handed her one of the cups. "Come on, let me show you around your new home." Learning to trust. The ship's interior was cramped by Zara's standards, but Marcus had clearly thought ahead. "Modified the crew quarters last night," he said, showing her to a cabin with a raised ceiling and reinforced bunk. "Previous owner was a tall species, too. Hope it works." The gesture touched Zara more than she cared to admit. "You did this for someone you barely know?" "Call it an investment in good working relationships," Marcus grinned. "Besides, I've learned that treating people right usually pays dividends." Their first cargo run was to the mining colony of Kepler's Rest, a 3-day journey through space lanes known for pirate activity. As they settled into hyperspace, Marcus showed Zara the ship's systems and her duties. "Your job is simple. Keep me alive, keep the cargo safe, and try not to break anything too expensive." "I am trained in 17 forms of combat and certified in 14 weapon systems," Zara replied seriously. "Perfect. I'm trained in running away and certified in fixing whatever breaks when we do." Their easy banter was interrupted 2 days later when the proximity alarms began screaming. 3 raider ships had dropped out of hyperspace, vectoring in on the starbound Hope with obvious hostile intent. "How's your combat training in 0G?" Marcus asked, his hands flying over the control panels. "Extensive," Zara replied, already moving toward the weapons locker. "Good, because we're about to test it." The first raider ship came in fast, attempting to disable their engines with precision fire, but it hadn't counted on Zara's reflexes. She manned the dorsal gun turret with deadly efficiency, her shots finding their mark with surgical precision. The second ship tried to ram them, only to find Marcus had anticipated the move. He rolled the ship at the last second, bringing Zara's guns to bear on the raiders' exposed underbelly. The third ship, seeing its companions destroyed, transmitted a surrender signal and jumped back to hyperspace. Growing closer. "Not bad for a day's work," Marcus said as they secured from battle stations. Zara found herself smiling, the first genuine smile she'd felt in months. "You fight well for a cargo pilot. You shoot well for someone who's supposedly defective." The words were out before Marcus could stop them, and he immediately looked stricken. "Zara, I'm sorry, I didn't mean—" "It is all right." Zara placed a massive hand on his shoulder, feeling the warmth of him through his shirt. "You meant no harm." The touch lingered longer than necessary, and both of them seemed to realize it at the same time. Marcus looked up into her golden eyes, and for a moment, something electric passed between them. Unexpected comfort. That night, as they sat in the ship's small galley sharing a meal, Zara found herself opening up in ways she hadn't with anyone. "Among my people, I was considered a prodigy. I won my first combat trial at 15, led my first military campaign at 20. Everything came easily to me, except the one thing that mattered most." "Their loss," Marcus said simply. "You do not understand. In Valoran society, a woman's worth is measured by her ability to continue the bloodline. Without that, all my achievements are meaningless." Marcus set down his fork and looked at her seriously. "Zara, I've been around the galaxy enough times to know that any society that throws away someone like you based on biology alone is making a huge mistake." "Someone like me?" Zara asked. "Strong, brave, loyal, kind." He met her eyes. "Beautiful." The word hung in the air between them. Zara felt her heart racing, something she'd never experienced in any battle. "You find me beautiful?" she asked softly. Marcus nodded, his voice barely above a whisper. "Inside and out." For the first time since her exile, Zara felt desired, valued for who she was rather than what she could provide. The feeling was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. A dangerous realization. As Marcus reached across the small table to touch her hand, Zara realized she was falling for this gentle human who saw her as more than a failed vessel for offspring. His hand was small compared to hers, but warm and steady. "This is dangerous," she murmured. "The most worthwhile things usually are," Marcus replied. Neither of them pulled away, and in that moment, both knew their relationship had crossed a line from which there might be no return.
The pull of hearts. 3 weeks had passed since their first cargo run, and the tension between Marcus and Zara had grown palpable. Every shared meal, every casual touch while working together, every stolen glance when the other wasn't looking, had woven an invisible thread that drew them closer. Marcus found himself watching her as she performed maintenance checks, admiring the graceful way her powerful frame moved through tasks that would challenge most beings. Zara, meanwhile, discovered herself lingering near the cockpit when Marcus piloted, drawn by his calm competence and the gentle way he spoke to her. "We're taking on a passenger," Marcus announced one morning as they docked at Meridian Station. "Dr. Elena Vasquez, xenobiologist. She's studying reproductive patterns across different species." Zara stiffened at the mention of reproduction, old wounds still tender. An unexpected guest. Dr. Vasquez was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and an analytical mind. She boarded with several cases of scientific equipment and an air of professional curiosity that made Zara immediately uncomfortable. "Fascinating," Dr. Vasquez murmured upon meeting Zara. "A Valoran warrior. I've studied your species' reproductive cycles extensively. Quite rigid, aren't they?" "Doctor," Marcus's voice carried a warning tone. "Oh, I meant no offense," Vasquez continued. "It's just that Valoran society places such emphasis on physical compatibility when there are so many other factors that determine successful reproduction." Zara excused herself abruptly, retreating to her quarters. Marcus found her there an hour later, sitting on her bunk with her head in her hands. Moments of vulnerability. "She meant well," Marcus said softly, sitting beside her on the reinforced bunk. "It does not matter. Everyone sees the same thing when they look at me, a broken creature who failed at the most basic function of her gender." Marcus turned to her fully, his hand finding hers. "Do you know what I see?" Zara looked up, tears glistening in her golden eyes. "I see a woman who's stronger than anyone I've ever met, but gentle enough to spend an hour yesterday teaching that maintenance droid new protocols instead of just reprogramming it." His thumb traced across her knuckles. "I see someone who makes terrible coffee, but always makes sure I have a cup waiting when I wake up. Marcus, I see someone who's beautiful, intelligent, and brave enough to start over when the world told her she was worthless." He lifted his free hand to cup her cheek, marveling at the softness of her bronze skin. "And I see someone I'm falling in love with." The first kiss. The confession hung between them like a bridge neither was sure they should cross. Zara's breath caught as she searched his brown eyes, finding only sincerity and warmth. "You cannot love me," she whispered. "I am too large, too different. Your people and mine would never accept it." "Let me worry about my people," Marcus replied, his thumb brushing away a tear that had escaped down her cheek. "And as for being too large—" He stood and gently pulled her to her feet, guiding her hands to his shoulders as his own settled at her waist. Even with him standing and her sitting, she was still taller, but somehow the difference seemed perfect. "You fit just right," he murmured, rising on his toes as she leaned down. Their first kiss was tentative, uncertain, both acutely aware of the physical differences between them. But as their lips met, all of those concerns melted away. Zara had never imagined such gentleness could exist, while Marcus discovered that her size only made her capacity for tenderness that much more profound. Growing intimacy. Over the following days, their relationship deepened in small, precious moments. Marcus would find excuses to brush his hand against hers as they worked.
Zara would linger in the cockpit after her shifts, and they would talk for hours about everything and nothing. One evening, as they sat together watching the stars through the observation deck viewport, Zara finally voiced her deepest fear. What if Dr. Vasquez is wrong? What if there truly is something fundamentally broken about me? Marcus shifted closer on the narrow bench, his arm wrapping around her waist as she leaned into him. Then we'll figure it out together. But Zara, you need to understand something. He turned to look at her, his expression serious. Even if we could never have children together, it wouldn't change how I feel about you. You're not a vessel for offspring. You're a person, and I love that person. A night of discovery. That night, Zara appeared at Marcus's cabin door, her usual armor replaced by simple civilian clothes. She looked vulnerable and determined all at once. I have never, she began, then stopped, color rising in her bronze cheeks. Marcus understood immediately. Among Valorans, intimacy was typically reserved for sanctioned reproductive partnerships. Her exile had come before she'd had the chance to experience physical love. We don't have to do anything you're not ready for, he said gently, taking her hand and leading her into his quarters. I want to know what it feels like, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. To be touched with love instead of clinical examination. What followed was a night of tender exploration, of whispered endearments and gentle caresses. Marcus worshipped every inch of her bronze skin, tracing the silver patterns that marked her as Valoran nobility. Zara marveled at the way his smaller frame fit perfectly against hers, how his gentle touch could ignite sensations she'd never dreamed possible. They made love with a passion that transcended physical differences, their hearts beating in synchronization as they discovered the profound intimacy that came from being truly seen and accepted by another soul. The morning after. Dawn found them wrapped in each other's arms, Zara's head resting on his chest as he ran his fingers through her crimson hair. I never knew it could be like this, she murmured against his skin. Like what? Safe, cherished, whole. Marcus pressed a kiss to the top of her head. You've always been whole, Zara. You just needed someone who could see it. Their peaceful moment was shattered by the urgent chime of the communication system. Dr. Vasquez's excited voice filled the cabin. Marcus, Zara, you need to see this. I've been analyzing the data from yesterday's medical scans, and I think I've made a breakthrough about Valoran reproduction that could change everything. As they hurried to dress, both of them felt a mixture of hope and dread. Whatever Dr. Vasquez had discovered, they knew it would test the foundation of the love they'd just discovered.
The discovery. Dr. Vasquez's laboratory was filled with holographic displays showing complex genetic sequences and reproductive data. Her eyes gleamed with the excitement of a scientist on the verge of a breakthrough. What you're looking at, she said, gesturing to the swirling DNA helixes, challenges everything we thought we knew about Valoran reproduction. Zara stood rigid beside Marcus, her hand unconsciously finding his for comfort. What do you mean? Traditional Valoran medicine focuses solely on physical compatibility within the species, but my research suggests that genetic diversity, introducing foreign DNA, might actually overcome the structural limitations that prevent reproduction in larger females. Marcus squeezed Zara's hand. Are you saying? I'm saying that interspecies reproduction might be exactly what Valoran females like Zara need to successfully carry offspring. The human genetic sequence could provide the missing elements that make conception and gestation possible. The weight of hope. Zara sank into a chair, her legs suddenly unsteady. For months she had accepted her fate as barren, worthless to her people. Now this small human woman was suggesting that her exile might have led her directly to the solution her species needed. This is theoretical, Zara managed to say. There is no proof. Actually, Dr. Vasquez smiled, there might be. I found records of 3 historical cases where Valoran women paired with humans. All 3 were considered defective by their society, and all 3 successfully bore children. Marcus moved behind Zara's chair, his hands resting gently on her shoulders. What happened to them? The records are incomplete, but it suggests they were quietly reintegrated into Valoran society. Their offspring became some of the most celebrated warriors and leaders in Valoran history. The Hunter's arrival. Their discussion was interrupted by the ship's proximity alarms. Marcus rushed to the bridge, Zara close behind him. On the scanner, a massive Valoran battlecruiser was approaching at high speed. "The Crimson Talon," Zara whispered, recognizing the ship's distinctive markings. "My sister's command vessel." The communication array crackled to life, and a voice that was unmistakably similar to Zara's filled the bridge. "Zara Kethix, you will prepare for immediate boarding and return to Valoran space for judgment." Commander Lyra Kethix appeared on the main screen, her appearance a mirror of Zara's, but with harder edges and cold amber eyes. Where Zara was bronze and warmth, Lyra was platinum and ice. "Sister," Zara replied formally. "Do not shame our family name further by calling me that. You abandoned your duty, your people, and your honor. The High Council has decreed you will return to face exile or execution." Standing ground, Marcus stepped forward, placing himself protectively in front of Zara. "She's not going anywhere she doesn't want to go." Lyra's eyes narrowed as she focused on the human. "And what right do you have to speak for a Valoran warrior, little man?" "The right of someone who loves her," Marcus replied without hesitation. The admission sent shockwaves through both the bridge and across the communication link. Lyra's expression shifted from cold authority to barely contained rage. "Love? You dare speak of love when you have corrupted my sister with your alien touch? You have made her even more of an abomination than she already was." Zara stepped around Marcus, her warrior training taking over. "Enough, Lyra. I will not have you insult the first being who has shown me genuine kindness." "Kindness will not restore your honor or your fertility," Lyra shot back. "Nothing can fix what is broken in you." The revelation. Dr. Vasquez pushed past them to the communication console. "Actually, Commander Kethix, that's where you're wrong." She quickly transmitted her research data to the Valoran ship. "What you're looking at is evidence that interspecies reproduction could solve the fertility crisis affecting large-framed Valoran females." Lyra studied the data, her expression shifting from anger to confusion to something that might have been hope. "This is unproven theory." "Then let me prove it," Zara said, her voice steady and strong. "Give me time to test this theory. If Dr. Vasquez is correct, I may have found not just my own salvation, but a solution for others like me." The challenge. Lyra was silent for long moments, clearly weighing duty against possibility. "The High Council will not accept delays based on alien science." "Then I challenge the High Council's authority," Zara declared, causing both Marcus and Dr. Vasquez to gasp. "You cannot," Lyra breathed. "You have no standing to issue challenges." "I invoke the right of discovery," Zara continued, her voice growing stronger. "Any Valoran who discovers something of benefit to the species has the right to present their findings before being judged." It was an ancient law, rarely invoked, but still valid. Lyra looked torn between her orders and her sister's legal maneuvering. 6 months, Zara pressed. "Give me 6 months to prove the theory. If I fail, I will return willingly and accept whatever judgment the High Council deems appropriate." "And if you succeed?" Lyra asked. Zara took Marcus's hand openly, defiantly. "Then you will acknowledge that what you call corruption, I call love, and that love may be the key to our species' survival." Marcus looked at the woman he loved, seeing her not as the broken exile she'd believed herself to be, but as the fierce warrior she'd always been. She was fighting not just for their love, but for the future of her people. "I stand with her," he said simply, "whatever comes." Lyra stared at them for a long moment, then nodded slowly. 6 months, but know this, sister, if you fail, I will personally ensure your execution is swift and honorable." The communication link closed, leaving them alone with the weight of their gamble. Zara turned to Marcus, seeing her own determination reflected in his eyes. "Are you ready to change the fate of an entire species?" she asked. Marcus smiled, pulling her close. "With you, I'm ready for anything."
The test of faith. 4 months had passed since Lyra's ultimatum, and the small medical bay aboard the starbound Hope had become a laboratory of hope. Dr. Vasquez worked tirelessly, monitoring every aspect of Zara's health as she and Marcus took the terrifying leap of faith that would either vindicate her theory or seal Zara's fate. The early signs were promising but inconclusive. Zara's body was responding to the treatments Dr. Vasquez had developed, her internal chemistry shifting in ways that suggested the human genetic material might indeed be the missing key to Valoran reproduction. "The cellular regeneration patterns are unlike anything I've seen," Dr. Vasquez explained during one of their weekly checkups. "Your body is essentially rewriting its own biological programming." Marcus held Zara's hand as they absorbed the information. The past months had only deepened their bond, each day bringing new understanding of how perfectly they complemented each other despite their obvious differences. The miracle confirmed. It was during their 5th month together that the impossible became reality. Dr. Vasquez's scans revealed what none of them had dared to hope for: new life growing within Zara's transformed body. "I cannot believe it," Zara whispered, staring at the holographic image of the tiny form developing inside her. "After being told for so long that I was incapable." Marcus wrapped her arms around her from behind, marveling at this woman who continued to surprise him with her strength and capacity for love. "Our child," he murmured against her ear. "Half human, half Valoran," Dr. Vasquez added with scientific wonder. "The genetic combination is stabilizing in ways my models only theoretically predicted. This child will carry the best traits of both species." The reckoning. 3 weeks before Lyra's deadline, the Crimson Talon returned, this time accompanied by a full diplomatic escort. The Valoran High Council itself had come to witness the results of what they viewed as either heresy or salvation. Zara stood on the bridge of the starbound Hope, no longer the broken exile who had been cast out months ago. Her pregnancy was now visible, her body radiating a glow that seemed to come from within. Beside her, Marcus stood tall, his hand protectively resting on her swollen abdomen. "Sister," Lyra's voice carried a new tone of respect as she materialized on the communication screen. "The High Council awaits your evidence." "Tell them," Zara replied with quiet dignity, "that the evidence grows within me." The Council's judgment. The meeting took place aboard the Valoran flagship in a chamber that had witnessed centuries of momentous decisions. The 12 members of the High Council sat in judgment, their ancient faces showing mixtures of skepticism, curiosity, and hope. Elder Thane, the most senior member, spoke for the group. "Zara Kethix, you were cast out for failing your reproductive duty. You now claim to have solved not only your own deficiency, but discovered a solution for others like you." "I do not claim this alone," Zara replied, her voice steady. "I stand with my mate, Marcus Chen, who showed me that love transcends the boundaries our societies try to impose." Murmurs rippled through the chamber at her open acknowledgement of their relationship. "Dr. Vasquez will present the scientific evidence, but first I offer proof that cannot be disputed." She placed Marcus's hand on her abdomen, and as if summoned by their combined touch, the child within responded with a strong kick that was visible even through her clothing. "This child," Dr. Vasquez addressed the council, "represents the future of Valoran reproduction. The human genetic contribution doesn't diminish Valoran traits, it enhances them. The offspring will possess increased adaptability, enhanced cognitive function, and, most importantly for your people, the ability to reproduce regardless of physical frame size." Elder Thane leaned forward. "You are saying this interspecies breeding could solve our declining population crisis?"
"I am saying," Zara interjected, "that love found a way where duty failed, that the strength of two species together exceeds the limitations of either alone." The council deliberated for hours while Marcus, Zara, and Dr. Vasquez waited. When they finally reconvened, Elder Thane's expression was unreadable. "Zara Kethix, the High Council finds that you have not only fulfilled the terms of your challenge, but exceeded them. Your discovery will be instrumental in ensuring our species' survival." Relief flooded through Zara, but the elder wasn't finished. "Furthermore, we hereby establish the Interspecies Compatibility Protocol, allowing any Valoran who wishes to pursue relationships with compatible alien species for the purpose of reproduction and genetic diversity." Love's victory. Lyra approached them after the formal session ended, her cold exterior finally cracking to reveal genuine emotion. "Sister, I owe you an apology. And you," she turned to Marcus, "I owe gratitude. You saw value where we saw only failure." "She was never a failure," Marcus replied. "She just needed someone to believe in her." "We both did," Zara added, squeezing his hand. The new dawn. 6 months later, their daughter was born, a perfect fusion of human and Valoran traits. She had Marcus's warm brown eyes and Zara's bronze skin with delicate silver markings that seemed to shift and dance in the light. When she wrapped her tiny fingers around Marcus's thumb, both parents knew they were looking at the future. "What will we name her?" Marcus asked, as they sat in their expanded quarters aboard what was now officially designated as a diplomatic vessel. "Hope," Zara replied without hesitation. "We will name her Hope, because that is what she represents for both our peoples." Dr. Vasquez had returned to her research, but not before establishing the Chen Kethix Institute for Interspecies Reproductive Studies. Couples from across the galaxy came seeking the same miracle that love had worked for them. Forever changed. As Marcus watched Zara nurse their daughter, he marveled at the journey that had brought them together. A broken warrior and a simple cargo pilot had found in each other not just love, but the key to rewriting the future of an entire civilization. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't offered you that job?" Marcus asked. Zara looked up from their child, her golden eyes bright with contentment. "I do not wonder about roads not taken. I am grateful for the path that led me to you, to this, to our family. Even if it means dealing with diplomatic missions instead of simple cargo runs, especially then," she laughed, the sound like music in their small cabin. "Besides, someone needs to keep you from getting into trouble with customs officials." As their ship traveled between worlds, carrying hope and healing to others like them, Marcus and Zara knew they had found something precious, a love that was stronger than prejudice, deeper than differences, and powerful enough to change the destiny of the stars themselves. Their story began with exile and despair, but it would be remembered as the tale of how two hearts, beating as one, had proven that the universe's greatest force was not gravity or fusion, but the simple, miraculous power of love.